Hi guys, it's LeJanaro back with another video. Today I am doing a sew along for New Look 6706. I am making view A with the hoodie, and I'm making it out of some brown ponte knit that I had in my stash. I cut it out in my video earlier this week. I cut a large for the top part, and then I just kind of graded to an extra large for the bottom because of my hips. So hopefully that works out for me. Right, so let's get started. I would like to say welcome to all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, and everyone who keeps coming back each time I post a new video. So make sure you read all of your pattern instructions. It will tell you what size you need to cut on the back here. It would also tell you what notions you need if you need any. But make sure you thoroughly read your instructions before going through this. I think this is actually labeled a jacket. Yeah, for some reason I think this is labeled a jacket, even though it doesn't say. It says Mrs. 6 sizes in one. Who knows? Anyway, let's talk about the pattern pieces you're going to need. First off, this does call for a facing. I'm not using the facing. I have a love-hate relationship with facings. Right, so let's talk about the pattern pieces you're going to need. This is piece number 8. This is your sleeve. You cut 2. This is pattern piece number 4, your pocket. You cut 4. This is pattern piece number 1, the upper front. You cut 2. This is pattern piece number 5, your hood. You cut 2. And the facing goes along with your hood. So if you are using the facing, make sure you cut that out. This is pattern piece number 2. This is the lower front, and you cut 2. And this is pattern piece number 3. This is your back piece, and you cut 2. Right. So I like to batch sew as much as I can. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take I'm going to take my hood, and I'm going to pin all the way around, right? Because I'm going to have to sew all the way around the hood. Let me make sure, let me adjust the camera. All right. Right, so yes, I'm going to take the hood, place it with the right side spacing, and I'm going to pin all the way around this area here. I gotta finish cutting my hood. I just noticed that I didn't cut this end. I don't know what I was doing, but anyway, because it's supposed to be 2 pieces, not one cut on the fold, so I gotta cut this end. But anyway, I'm going to take my hood and I'm going to pin around, and then I'll sew around. But I'm going to take more than one thing to the sewing machine at a time, so I can get as much done as I can. I'll do that in just a second because, of course, I don't have my pins. Alright, so now I'm going to take pattern pieces number 1 and pattern piece number 2. Pattern piece number 1 is your upper front and pattern piece number 2 is your lower front. So you're going to place them with right sides facing. So you do have a notch here at the bottom of pattern piece number 1 and you have one here at the top of pattern piece number 2. Alright, so here's pattern piece number 1. There's my notch. And here is pattern piece number 2. Here's my notch here. I want to take them, match up my notches, pin at my notch, and then pin all the way across. All right. And remember to have right sides facing. I'm going to sew this with my serger. So this actually should not take me very long to sew. And then when you sew it up, you then have one complete front piece. And I think this is a unique design because you could do some top stitching on this with some contrasting thread. It would be super cute. Alright, so I'll do it this way this time. This is pattern piece number 1. Right, here's my notch. This is pattern piece number 2, and this is a straight edge of pattern piece number 2. I'm going to place them down with right side spacing. I'm going to have to stretch mine a little bit because I did that grading for my hips. I don't know who's sending me text messages right now, but my phone has went off about 8 times. My goodness. They don't respect the tutorial. Right. Right, so I'm going to take one side and the other side of my front pieces. Alright, I'm going to sew them together. And I'm also going to take my hood and I'm going to sew around. So this is one side that we have together now, where we sew together piece 1 and 2, and I press my seam. Mom will be so proud. And this is why I was talking about top stitching. You could probably do some really cute top stitching on this. But anyway, so this is one piece, and I'm going to take my other piece and place them with right sides facing. Alright. You should have some notches. And I'm going to pin all the way down. You have notches here and here. Right, you take this to the sewing machine, sew all the way down. I also, once I finished my hood, I went ahead and I folded a hem. So I just did a double fold because I didn't serge the edges, so I just folded it about 1/4 of an inch and then another 1/4 of an inch. I'm not sure what the size says in the instructions, but that's just what I did for mine. And I did it all the way around, and then I pressed it, and then I just added some pins to hold it in place until I can pull out my sewing machine and just hem all the way around the hood to give it that clean finish. Before I go to the sewing machine, go ahead and take your back piece. Your back piece should be right sides facing. You should have some notches. Go ahead and pin all the way down. I was gonna add my pockets, but I was a little bit ahead of myself. So this is your back piece. Place it with right sides facing. Pin all the way down, and you're going to sew all the way down just like you're going to do with the front piece. Right? Now make sure you're pinning the right side. Don't pin the side with your arm holes. Right? You're pinning the straight edge. Right? So when we do this to the front and back piece, then we can come back and add our pockets. I was jumping ahead. Okay, so this is my front piece, all sewn together, all 4 pieces. Be careful when you're right here. Make sure you pin really good to make sure that these seams line up. Mine is slightly off, but that's okay. It's okay. Right? So now I'm going to take my pockets, and you're going to do this for the front and the back piece. You should have some notches here, right on the, I'm gonna call it the skirt part, even though I know it's not the skirt. But you have a notch here, and you have a notch on your pocket piece. Line those notches up right sides facing. Right, and then you're just gonna sew your pocket, baste your pocket, and you're just gonna sew your pocket in place. Right, and you're going to do the same thing to your back piece and the pockets. Once I pin my pockets, I'm going to take a short break and go to work. It'll be a few seconds for you all, but it'll be a couple of hours for me. Time to start baking the donuts. Alright, find your notches and pin. and sew your pocket in place on both your front and back pieces. Okay, so I got my pockets on both sides, front and back. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take, this is the back. I'm going to take the front and place it on top with right sides facing. And I'm going to pin at my shoulder seams and sew my shoulder seams. You should have some notches. Very important to match all your, cut all your notches and whatnot. Now again, I do encourage you to read the directions. There are certain patterns that I don't read directions. If it looks like a straightforward pattern, I don't even bother to read the directions. And this is pretty much a straightforward pattern. But definitely I would encourage you to read the directions before starting this project. Even if you're following a tutorial, look over some directions. Right, so I'm just going to take this and sew the shoulder seams. And I'll be right back to add the sleeves. Okay, so sew together at the shoulder seams. I'm going to open this up so the right side is facing up. Right, so these are shoulder seams that I just sewed. So I opened it up because I need to now add the sleeves. All right, so this is where you will add the sleeve here in this curve to both sides. Take one sleeve and make sure you're placing with right sides facing. You have 2 notches on your back piece and 1 notch on your front piece. So match that up with your sleeve. I got 2 notches, 1 notch. What I hear a lot of people do also is if they are watching a tutorial, they will watch the tutorial all the way through before they start to sew. So I pin my notches first, and now I'm going to pin the rest of the sleeve. You should have had some circles as well on your pattern pieces. That kind of helps line up the sleeve as well. Like you may have some circles like around here somewhere on your pattern piece or here, just to help guide the pinning of your sleeve. All right. But yeah, some people will watch the tutorial from start to finish, because I know for myself, I may mention something in the middle of a tutorial that I probably should have mentioned at the beginning. Like for instance, make sure you cut all your notches, make all your markings. That's probably something I should have said at the beginning of this tutorial, because whenever I say you should have a notch and you're going, notch for what? So in my next tutorial, I'll do everything. I'll cut out the fabric and everything. I'll do all that stuff on camera. so I can show you what I'm talking about. But on your pattern pieces, you have like a little triangle looking thingy. Those are things that we make snips in the fabric to match up our pattern pieces, so our pattern pieces will match up. Alright, got my sleeve pinned, and I'm going to pin the other sleeve the same way. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew around where I pin. I'm going to see if I can angle my camera so that you all can see this serger. Because putting my phone up here and recording my phone will just be shaking. I don't know what internal damage that might be doing to my phone. So I got the sleeves attached, right? I got the right side facing up. This is my shoulder seam. This is my sleeve. So I'm just going to take one side and just place them with right sides facing. Since this is so wide. So yeah. Just going to place it with right sides facing. So now you see the whole side of the garment with the sleeve, right? So what I'm going to do, right? Put a pin right here. You should have notches. I did serge my sides, but I can still see my notch. I'm going to pin, right? So I'm going to pin. You should have some notches on your sleeve. Right, so I pin the notch on my sleeve. Now I'm going to the bottom of my sleeve and just pinning. Right, so now at the bottom here, it has splits, right? So you don't sew all the way down. So you should have a marking on your pattern piece where it tells you to stop, to make so you have your split, and it's right below your pocket. So I'm just going to put a pin there to let me know where to stop. I'm going to put a pin here at the bottom of my pocket. The top of my pocket and around my pocket. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So after you finish your sleeve, you place the garment with right sides facing. And you pin down both sides. Right, so this is how you sew. Trying to see, make sure you can see everything on the camera. Right, so after you place it with right side spacing and you have your side exposed, you go ahead and pin, and you'll sew down the sleeve, and you come down about an inch or 1.5 inches on the pocket. It should tell you in the, well, you have markings on your pattern pieces to tell you when to start in your pocket. Just as a general rule for me, I go down about 1 inch or 1.25 inches. So started my sleeve, sew down about 1 inch, 1.25 inches, then come down about 1 inch or 1.25 inches, and then sew the rest. But remember, you have a stopping point here because you have a split. All right, and then I sew around my pocket. All right, so starting at my sleeves, sew all the way down till I get about 1 inch down my pocket, one or 1.25 inch, then come down about 1.25 inch because you need an opening to stick your hand through your pocket. So come down about 1.25 inch, start back sewing here all the way down till I get to my stopping point for my split. All right, and I'm gonna sew my shoulders. I'm gonna sew my sleeve on my serger, but the rest I'm gonna have to take to my sewing machine. And then you pin the other side the same way, and sew the other side the same way. So I was able to use the serger, but what I'm going to have to do is I'm still going to have to take it to my sewing machine to go down about 1 inch on both ends of my pockets, but I sewed all the way down with my serger. Alright, so let's turn this to the right side. Go ahead and grab your hood. Now this is the part, if you want the facing and all of that good stuff, this is the part where you need to consult your instructions. Alright, but what I am going to do also, well, okay, so I keep saying okay, so I don't like drawstrings in my hoodies. I feel like every time I wash them, the drawstring gets all tangled up and it's just a hot mess. So I don't like drawstrings in my hoodie. This hoodie has a drawstring, so with that also you need to look at your instructions, because you're gonna have to make buttonholes on your hood piece to take your drawstring through. So, consensus, consult the instructions for the hoodie, unless you're going to do it like me. Alright, so I got it with right sides face up. This is my hoodie. So I have 2 notches on my hoodie on the back, and there's 2 notches on the back of my top. Alright, I'm going to place them with right side spacing, matching up these notches. And I'm going to pin all the way around. Right, I'm going to pin around the other side. All right, so what I'm going to do to make this a clean finish, one, I'm going to serge it. But right here in the front, this is one side of my hoodie. This is the other side. I'm going to overlap my hoodie. See if I can. This brown color is probably not helping the cause. All right, here we go. So I'm just gonna pin. All right, so here's the two ends of my hoodie. I'm going to just overlap them. So I'm going to take one, right, and I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to overlap it, right, overlap it. And that's how I'm going to get my clean finish. So you won't see any raw edges on the outside. Right, just gonna take this to my serger and just serge around. Only thing I have left to do is hem my arms and hem the bottom. And ooh, oh, I've been beating up this serger. It's been on the floor. Don't conk out on me, serger. Right. So the hem has a rounded edge, so I'm just going to press my hem the amount that I want my hem to be, and that will help me with the pressing to make it nice and neat. Right. I really hope my camera is focused when I'm doing the serging. Oh, I got a feeling it is not. If it is blurry, I'm so sorry. I still have not gotten a clear setup for the sewing when I'm recording. I need an expert to come help me. Alright, so it's done. I got the hood on. All I have to do now is hem my sleeves and hem the bottom. And then I'm going to try to go outside and take some photos in this. I did get the clean finish I was telling you about by overlapping the hood pieces in the front. So yeah, I'm done. I just got to finish up that little bit and then I will take some photos.